For most of my life, I believed I understood love. I believed it was something you give freely, something that grows when nurtured, something that holds a family together like invisible thread. When my son Adam was born, I thought my heart had reached its full capacity. I was wrong. It didn't reach its limit. It reshaped itself around him. After my husband passed away when Adam was just 7, my entire world narrowed to the sound of my son's laughter, the rhythm of his footsteps running through our small house, and the quiet whisper of his breathing when he fell asleep beside me after a nightmare. I wasn't just his mother. I was his father, his protector, his teacher, his friend. And somewhere along the way, without realizing it, I made him the center of every dream I had left. Adam grew up kind and gentle. He carried his father's calm eyes and my stubborn determination. Life was not easy for us. I worked long shifts at a small tailoring shop, stitching other people's dreams into wedding dresses and school uniforms while patching our own life together with hope and patience. There were nights when I skipped dinner so Adam could have seconds. There were winters when I wore an old sweater so he could have a new coat. I never regretted it. Sacrifice felt natural, almost sacred, because it was for him. Watching him study at the kitchen table, his brow furrowed in concentration, made every tired bone in my body feel lighter. When Adam turned 21, he was accepted into a respected university. The day he left home to live in a small apartment near campus, I stood at the doorway longer than necessary. I smiled, hugged him tightly, and told him to chase his dreams. But when the bus disappeared down the road, silence filled the house like an unexpected guest. For the first time in years, I ate dinner alone. For the first time, I didn't hear music playing from his room or the familiar "Mom, where are my keys?" echoing through the hall. I reminded myself that this was success, not loss. Children grow. That is what they are meant to do. The first few months passed with phone calls every evening. Adam would tell me about his classes, his professors, and the new friends he was making. I listened eagerly, asking questions, laughing at his stories, offering advice when he sought it. I felt proud, deeply proud, that he was building a life beyond our small home. Then one evening, his voice carried a different tone, lighter, almost shy. He mentioned a girl named Sarah. At first, it was casual. "She's in my economics class," he said. "She's really smart." I smiled, even though he couldn't see me. I teased him gently. "Smart is good," I replied. "You need someone who challenges you." Over time, Sarah's name appeared more frequently in our conversations. She studied with him, shared notes, encouraged him before exams. One weekend, he mentioned they had coffee together. A month later, he said quietly, "Mom, I think she's my girlfriend." My heart paused for a second, then forced itself to beat normally again. I congratulated him. I told him I was happy he had found someone special. My voice sounded steady, but after we hung up, I sat in the dark living room and felt something unfamiliar rising inside me. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even sadness. It was something sharper, more confusing. It was jealousy. I felt ashamed the moment I named it. What kind of mother feels jealous of her son's happiness? But the feeling persisted. Adam's calls became less frequent. When he visited home, he checked his phone often. Once, during dinner, he smiled at a message, and his eyes softened in a way I had never seen before. I realized that there was a part of his heart I no longer fully occupied. Someone else had entered the space that had once belonged entirely to me. I tried to convince myself that this was natural, that love expands rather than divides. But my heart felt betrayed in a way I could not explain. It was as if I had been faithful to the role of mother with every breath I took, and now I felt replaced. The irony was painful. I had always taught Adam about loyalty, about commitment, about staying true to the people you love. Yet here I was, feeling as though he had committed a quiet kind of infidelity, not against trust, but against the exclusive bond we once shared. The day I finally met Sarah, I prepared carefully. I cooked Adam's favorite dishes and cleaned the house twice. When they arrived, I opened the door with a rehearsed smile. Sarah stood beside him, holding a small bouquet of flowers. She looked nervous but sincere. She greeted me respectfully, calling me auntie, with warmth in her voice. Throughout lunch, she listened attentively, complimented the food, and spoke about her own family with affection. There was nothing to dislike about her. In fact, she was everything I would have wished for my son. Kind, intelligent, grounded. And that realization hurt the most. After they left that evening, I stood by the sink washing dishes that were already clean. I replayed every moment in my mind. Adam looked happy. Not the polite happiness he showed when he tried to reassure me, but a deep, peaceful happiness that radiated from him. I should have been grateful. Instead, I felt displaced. The house felt smaller, as though my role in his life had quietly shrunk. Weeks passed, and my jealousy began to change me in subtle ways. When Adam mentioned Sarah, I responded with short answers. When he canceled a weekend visit because he had plans with her, I said, "It's fine," but my tone carried disappointment. I began to withdraw, convincing myself that I was preparing for the inevitable day he would leave completely. But distance does not protect the heart. It only hardens it. One evening, Adam arrived unexpectedly. His expression was troubled. He sat at the kitchen table, staring at his hands. "Mom," he said softly, "have I done something wrong?" My chest tightened. I asked what he meant. He looked up, eyes searching mine. "You seem far away. I feel like I'm losing you." In that moment, shame flooded through me. I had been so focused on my own wounded pride that I hadn't noticed his confusion. He was not abandoning me. He was expanding his world. And instead of supporting him, I had made him feel guilty for growing. Tears filled my eyes before I could stop them. I confessed everything, the loneliness, the fear, the jealousy I was too embarrassed to admit. I told him I felt replaced, that I didn't know how to share him. The words sounded childish as they left my mouth, but they were honest. Adam moved from his chair and knelt beside me, just as he had done when he was little and needed comfort. "Mom," he whispered, "no one can replace you. You are my home. Loving Sarah doesn't mean I love you less. It means you taught me how to love well." His words broke something open inside me. For years, I had believed that love was something you protect by holding tightly. But perhaps true love is proven by letting go with trust. I realized that my jealousy was not about Sarah at all. It was about my fear of being alone, of no longer being needed. The following weekend, I invited Sarah to visit alone. I wanted to know her beyond the role she played in my son's life. We sat together in the living room, drinking tea. She spoke about her dreams, about wanting to become a teacher, about caring for her younger siblings. I saw in her the same protective tenderness I had once felt as a young mother. At one point, she hesitated before saying, "I hope I can make Adam as happy as he deserves." There was no competition in her voice, only sincerity. I reached across the table and took her hand. "He is lucky to have you," I said honestly. And in that moment, I meant it. Gradually, the sharp edge of jealousy softened into something gentler, acceptance. I began to understand that motherhood is not about ownership. It is about guidance. We raise our children not to keep them close forever, but to prepare them to build lives of their own. If they find someone who respects them, supports them, and walks beside them with integrity, then we have succeeded. Months later, Adam told me he was thinking about a future with Sarah. Instead of fear, I felt peace. I saw clearly that the love I had poured into him had not disappeared. It had multiplied. It lived in the way he spoke kindly to her, in the way he considered her feelings, in the way he still called me to ask for advice. I was not replaced. I was reflected. On the day Adam graduated, I stood in the crowd watching him receive his degree. Sarah stood beside me, her eyes shining with pride. When he waved at us, I felt an overwhelming gratitude, not only for his success, but for the lesson he had unknowingly taught me. Love is not diminished when shared. It grows stronger, deeper, more resilient. Looking back, I realized that my jealousy was a quiet misunderstanding of the heart. I thought loyalty meant holding on tightly, but true loyalty means supporting those we love even when their path leads them away from us. I feared losing my son, but I gained a daughter. I feared being forgotten, but I became the foundation upon which his new life was built. Today, when I sit alone in the evening, the house no longer feels empty. It feels peaceful. Adam visits often, sometimes with Sarah, sometimes alone. Our conversations are different now, less about daily routines and more about dreams, plans, and the future. The bond we share has matured, just like him. If there is one truth I have learned, it is this. Love is not a possession to guard, nor a territory to defend. It is a gift we nurture, then release with faith. Jealousy may whisper that we are being replaced, but wisdom reminds us that every genuine relationship built on respect and kindness is a continuation of the love we first planted. A mother's heart does not shrink when her child falls in love. It expands to welcome another soul. And sometimes, the greatest act of love is learning to step aside with grace, trusting that what we have built will endure. In the end, I discovered that there was no infidelity in my son's heart, only growth. And growth, though painful at times, is the most beautiful proof that love has done its work well.